You gotta give it like a silky smooth intro now?
No, not at all.
He's just gonna awkwardly stare at you, and you're gonna wonder: is his health okay?
It's up for debate.
You gotta watch that.
Occasionally
You gotta watch that
on camera. I have a stroke.
It's the vein in his forehead when that thing starts going. You
Throbbing?
know, yeah. How good? You up on your first date?
We can make it happen.
Yeah.
I need some medical attention, please. So let's do this.
I think Zach has it. Zach's got it.
We live? All right, cool. All right, well, welcome to How Stupid People Succeed. I'm Josh, this is Jeremy, and this is our friend Dale King himself.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a podcast about how two stupid people somehow figure things out in life. And
Yes.
Motto.
so Dale, we want to have you on because you are a guy
I'm the
that
dumbest.
I'm the dumbest yet. Watch me. I played paintball with no mask.
Yes, it's definitely on the bloopers. So, but yeah, you have figured out. You've been fortunate enough, and you figured out a lot of stuff in your life, and I'm sure by a lot of trial and error. But we're honored to be down here in Columbus, on the precipice of the Arnold,
Maybe.
to be or not to be.
Hashtag who knows.
And but yeah, thanks for taking the time, Dale.
No, thank you guys for putting this on. You're helping me, like I said, salvage somewhat of a dismal Arnold Classic so far. So this will be a $5,000 podcast trip for us.
So what's the real story behind the coronavirus? Should Columbus be in terror?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. That's the way we felt, but weren't sure.
Yeah. Well, they said they had 80 people from 80 different countries come to this thing.
Yeah.
Over 300,000 is what I heard.
Yeah,
Typically
they're kind of promoting like 250K and then athletes from all over, which, you know, to me it's just liability. Like
Yeah.
no one's gonna be on
Somebody
the
shedding
hook
that.
for that. Like
Yeah.
so, but it is, if you've ever been there,
Yeah.
it would not be a good place for somebody to have an infection.
It is
disease.
a madhouse. We so last year, and which to be fair, Jeremy told me not to do this, but I did it anyway. We went to the Arnold with some friends of ours, and they have 3 kids. At the time, we had 2, and we went with all 5 kids. So there were 4 adults, 5 kids. We were in there for maybe an hour and a half. I was just like, oh God, Amanda, we've got to go.
Yeah.
We have got to go. And there's, so you had like the Bang energy party, and my son's just like
Race, learning about life.
That was a strip club, like that.
yeah. I said I've never been.
Well, maybe you have now.
Maybe I have. Yeah. I took my 6-year-old.
It is called Bang.
Oh my gosh!
There you go, Junior.
But they got this purple haze. It's quite delicious.
You learned a lot about your son that day.
He's a man.
The apple does not fall far from the man that's hitting you in the back of the head every 5 seconds.
Stop.
Jeez, terrible.
Go ahead and kick us off there.
Well,
Keep us loving.
I think so. Part of what we want to dig into, there's a lot that people can learn about you. So to cut through some of it, maybe we'll get into it, but you've been on the hit TV show Shark Tank, struck a deal with Robert. You served in our military. You're in Portsmouth now, definitely anchored in Portsmouth. At the Arnold, you're also representing a couple different brands. The one that I at least am the most familiar with is Doc Spartan, which is an incredible product line. You keep my armpits fresh every day. Thank you for that. I just want to
Armpit armor.
touch you. Yeah. Healed all my tattoos. Incredible product. So if you don't know, yeah, check it out. But also the some assembly required, which is a lot of athletes assembled, and we'll probably talk a little bit about that. And they're going to be here at the Arnold. I think to jump into it with what you've done and the level you're doing at, to see you so ingrained to the culture and the change that you want to see in Plymouth.
Portsmouth.
Plymouth.
I mean, Plymouth probably needs to change.
Plymouth needs it, yeah. My mom and dad lived in Plymouth for a while. It definitely needs a lot of help too. Plymouth, Ohio is not a happy place. But to see what you're doing in Portsmouth is absolutely incredible. So for you and what's going on, what has enabled you to say, you know what, I'm going to anchor down here and I'm going to legitimately make a difference in this community?
I wish there was like a solid 2-sentence answer that could respond to that best, but I love Portsmouth. So I was born and raised there. All happy childhood memories growing up there, and then was gone through college and the military, and it just happened to be at the same time that the pill mill deal started happening and the opioid crisis kind of took over, and it really was never like I gotta get back home. I was getting out of the military and I was going to be a defense contractor or an intelligence work for one of those guys, and it was like probably have to move home to DC. And then out of the blue, it's like, hey, you should probably apply for this job at the A plant. I was like, can't even like. This is like when George Bush was president. He kept saying nuclear.
Yeah. So that was a great job.
That was very good.
So I was terrified when I was a job interview. Because it was like nuclear and uranium enrichment, and I would always like nuclear. Like, I'd always just talk like George W. Bush. Strategery. We gotta have strategic nuclear enrichment capabilities. And I was like, I don't even know how.
They're like, this guy knows what he's talking about.
So they caught him like, but my boss turned out to be my boss was like, son, I read your resume. Like, we don't even want to interview you. You got the job if it's yours. And I was like, hey, Tia, we're going to move back home. You cool with that? And she did not want to move back home.
Is she from Portsmouth?
She's from Portsmouth, yeah.
Okay.
And so we found ourselves back home. And she's a nurse, so she can work anywhere. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, what in the hell happened the last 10 years since I was gone? And it was like, it was a shitty town.
So explain that a little bit. So when you left, the Portsmouth you came back to was far different than the one you left. So if you could, because, Marion's definitely one of those communities that has been impacted. Explain a little bit about what you felt like. This is what I felt like I left when I left Portsmouth, but here's the one I came back to or the one I got.
It was like everyone knows each other. You could, at the time, you go to Pizza Hut after like a big football games. Everybody knows each other and has each other's back. And you could ride bikes all around Mount Park. And I'm dropping all kinds of local references here. But, and it was, people were like, had like a little small town pride. Yeah. And then you came back and it was just like, Portsmouth's a shithole. Like, no one wants to live here. No one wants to stay here. And as soon as I graduate, I'm getting out of town. I'm never coming back. There's no jobs here. There's nothing for me to do. It's just like, if you're not a drug addict, this place ain't for you.
Wow.
And there was no downtown, really. The big department store at the time was called Martin's. It closed down. And just the biggest building in Portsmouth downtown is just vacant. Yeah. And there's no one had any, there's zero positivity.
There's no hope.
Yeah.
No hope.
No hope. And it was just like, as soon as if I happen to grow up in this shithole, like I can't wait to get out and never come back and see you later.
So did you feel that or know that before you moved back?
No, not really.
So then you convinced your wife as well, hey, let's move back. So was there any kind of turmoil and like the what in the world did you get us into kind of thing? Or did you try to have any struggle with like, wow, I'm taken back by this?
No, because both of our families were still around. Mm-hmm. Had our families not been there, like it would have zero chance of us coming back home whatsoever. Like I was pumped. I'm like, get to see my old friends, get to, now I'm an adult now. I've got money to spend. Like, it'll be cool. And we'll just have like this nice kind of quaint, small town American existence. Mm-hmm. And it was not that at all.
So you're working your job. What was the first step into, let me go outside of this and start trying to be part of the change?
So I started doing CrossFit the tail end of my term in the military. And so we're talking like 2007. And I really loved CrossFit, fell in love with kettlebells, and no one at the time was doing that. And you basically had to like learn how to do it online yourself. And it was a way for me to like, it had a lot of therapeutic properties for me transitioning into civilian world from the military.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Can you explain that a little bit? Because obviously your experience is unique. I've never served in the military. You hear all the time about PTSD and different things like that. So when you say therapeutic, can you help explain that a little bit more?
So it's transitioning back into a society who has no frame of reference for what you've done.
Okay.
Which is great because if only like 1% of the population serves, that means we're that 1% shouldering the burden that 99% can like have a good, peaceful existence, and that's how it should be. However, it's just like I tell the story all the time. It's like everyone knew whatever drama was happening with the Kardashian family and Paris Hilton, and that was like the big pop culture thing at the time. Mm-hmm. And so like you literally come off the battlefield, come back home, and no one has any idea of like what you've gone through and what other people are doing, let alone the men and women who've died over there. And so like me personally, it was just like, it's angry. Like, what is all this for? If you guys have zero, like you don't even understand like what this sacrifice means. So that was like a big thing with me. And like, what are you going to do? Like, tell somebody you're angry about it? Like, no, you're just going to have to eat it and move on and try to make the best of the situation. And luckily for us, like we came home to a population who was extremely supportive of veterans and the war effort going on. Unlike my dad, he was a Vietnam vet, and it was just like these guys were getting spit on.
Why that change? Why or what caused that change?
I think it's because it's 9/11.
Right.
Yeah.
100% it's 9/11. It's like we got punched in our face in our own backyard and saw it. And, you know, there was a lot of right, wrong, or indifferent. The population didn't want America to be involved in Vietnam at the time. Mm-hmm. And they saw the soldier as the instrument for that war, not necessarily the ones who sent them to that war.
So when you reference your dad, so your dad served.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember, or did he ever open up to you or talk about his experience coming back from that, or the treatment he received, or it's just your own kind of research you've done?
Not once. My dad had duffel bags and like a little lockbox of medals and stuff, and that's all he ever said about it. Like that was it. But as my dad wasn't a sports guy at all. He owned his own business, worked his ass off. But when I made the decision to become an officer, it was like we were playing catch now. You know what I mean? As like a 21-year-old. He's like, oh well, when I was stationed at blah 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 blah. So it was like a complete
It's a camaraderie for sure. Yeah.
So it gave you like a unique connection point.
Right. And now he had he had something to like, because he wasn't gonna like tell me about his Al Bundy fucking days and scoring 7 touchdowns at Polk High, because he didn't do that. So, but now it was a cool little common experience that we had, and he never pushed me to do that. He never, as a matter of fact, like I was gonna enlist when I graduated high school, and he spent like 14 years enlisted, and he was like, "You're not enlisting. It's like you're gonna go like get your college paid for first." And so I did ROTC and was on scholarship that way. And that was it as far as like having that bond and frame of reference.
So what's your relationship like with your dad today?
Oh, that's awesome.
That's incredible to think about. So at 21, you saw your dad open up to you in a way that you had not seen before. Mm-hmm. So now you're a dad.
Oh, yeah.
So
twins, right?
Twins.
So
So what?
next month?
3 next month. Okay, so they're at a very fun and lively age, right? Yeah. I don't sleep much. But in living that and seeing that with your dad and knowing that you've served and you've been through some challenging situations, but he had that openness and that connection with you when you were 21. What lessons do you try to take as a dad to your family now?
Well, I'll even go one further is like owning my own business now, and my dad was a business owner. I understand things now
Yeah.
like tenfold. Like I understand the hours. I understand I wasn't ever salty about he wasn't a sports dad, and I grew up and played a lot of sports. He worked. That's what he did. He was a small business owner, and he worked. And
What was his business?
he was an insurance claims adjuster.
Okay.
So he had his own. He had 4 or 5 adjusters working for him, a couple secretaries, and that was cool because we owned the house that we lived in. About a third of the house was the office. So I grew up.
The one on top of the hill?
Yeah. So I grew up with people coming into my house to work every day,
Right.
and then going around and messing around with the different people that work for my dad. And looking back, it's such an obvious fix of why I own my own business now. But,
It's in your blood. You saw it.
Yeah.
At some point, I think, especially for a business owner, how can you work a 9 to 5 when you've seen that modeled, and that's a little bit of just in your DNA, and it's gonna spill over. Just that work,
dude.
that energy, that
So,
effort.
but it's so crazy. So my dad is now retired, and he's in his early 80s.
Yeah.
And he was pumped that I was working for the Department of Energy. It's I had a great job, retirement benefits. And so he was excited for me because I didn't have to worry about any of the risk and stresses of a small business owner.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid no matter what, baby.
Yeah.
Especially working for the government. And so I had the conversation with him. I'm like, hey, so about that great job, I'm going to go ahead and quit all that
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
and just be a gym owner,
Yeah.
Dad.
And I'm guessing Portsmouth's not the mecca of successful gym ownership.
For sure.
Yeah.
And he knew it because it's been 5 years coming up to it. He was like, "Are you sure you want to? This is what you want to do?" Because he was going through a thing of I think all business owners have a plan, or they think they have a plan, or maybe they don't. It's well, when I retire, I'm selling it all, and I'm gonna
Right.
sail away to an island and off of all this money that I made. That didn't exactly work out for him like he had thought. And so I just said, all right, if you could go back 30 years ago or however long ago it was, and could you go work for State Farm or Nationwide and have a great income, but you'd have to work for somebody every day of your life? Oh, no way. I would, hell no, I wouldn't do that. And I was like, that's all I need to hear.
Right.
Because I'm not going to do that either. So it's just interesting to have those conversations from my dad to me. And then for my kids, it's just I want them to be empowered to have all the lessons and mistakes from me, but give them, hey, this is pros and cons.
Yeah.
Go fall on your face, kid.
I certainly don't believe
Figure it out.
everybody should be a business owner. But I also believe there's a lot of people that have bought into a C tier level of success that then it robs them from really taking the plunge or the jump into their own personal A level success. For some people, it could be they have this amazing successful job and they need to go back to school and become a teacher. For some people, they're a teacher and they need to take a plunge and go do something else. I know and hearing you talk about, I had this job set up and I had to take this plunge. I had a kind of a similar experience in the sense that I had a very kind of like, I had a setup and I abandoned the setup for literally nothing. Like there was nothing on the other side. I just jumped off the cliff in a sense. And for me, if I look back over the last, that was 10 years ago. If I look back over the last 10 years and I start adding up the experiences and what that risk afforded me, there's 0% I would change. I would trade that in.
Oh,
Because of what it's done to me as a person. So for you in that journey, you had mentioned, now kind of jump back, you had mentioned that you got into CrossFit and it was therapeutic for you. Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned that you had a lot of the anger. So what specific, this isn't a plug for necessarily CrossFit, but I think it's more a plug about working through your own self-health.
yeah.
And taking ownership and accountability. So what about that, the relationship with CrossFit and what you're doing that allowed you to work through that stuff?
A couple things. It gave me something to focus on because my job wasn't satisfying. So I was completely filled with mission and purpose when I was in the military. Mm-hmm. Like I saw the direct impact of what was happening. I'd seen like the absolute depth of evil that the world had to offer, and what we were doing to combat that, and the sacrifices associated with that. And it's like, as a 26/7, however old I was, like, make sure those reports are due on time.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, yeah, like, paycheck's coming no matter what. Like, just relax. It's going to be here for a while. I'm like, what? Like, I had, like, so it gave me, like, so now I'm just plugging away at my day job, and then I'm researching CrossFit, I'm researching workouts, I'm researching this. So it fulfilled a certain drive within me for that. And then it produced an outlet, produced a physical outlet for me to work. If I was angry, I had something to take it out on. Mm-hmm. If I was depressed, I had something to go to. I had something to look forward to. I had a physical outlet for me to work through whatever was going in my head at the time. And I have a very obsessive personality, and I just poured into it, to the point to where, like, I'd have to carry my own kettlebells into the gym that I was going to at the time because no one had kettlebells back then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me leave them there. And so I'd like,
they're evil.
Farmers carry in, work out, farmers carry.
Yeah, that's back when CrossFit was still a cuss word.
Yeah,
CrossFit was still a cuss word then.
Back into the car. But it was an outlet, like, and then what it did too is it provided me a community to belong to. Even though this was an online remote community, there was 2 CrossFit gyms in the state of Ohio in 2007. But you had that sort of connection. So it was like physical outlet to work through in a community to be a part of.
One of the things that, like you kind of mentioned the community aspect of it, but as I was mentioning earlier, and I realized I didn't finish my thought, but
no,
yeah, it's shocking, I know. But, my wife and I, we've had the privilege of being in your gym, about 3 times now. And, it definitely feels like that community. So, like it feels like home, so like our box up north, obviously, like that's our tribe, that's our culture.
Sure.
And then, so it doesn't feel that far off even coming to your gym doing, just doing a drop-in, which is super, super cool. So you kind of being the ringleader, I would imagine, of kind of the culture you want to create and the culture you want to sustain. What kind of goes into that for you, being that culture setter?
I know what it's like to be fat and not picked on or picked for a team, and that has. It was in 3rd grade. Freaking, it's Aaron McDonald again.
Son of a bitch!
It's twice now I've brought him up. He's
fucking Michigan Avenue.
Him and Newt are my best friends from high school. But so Mac knew me. I'm sorry, 4th grade, playing churchyard football outside of Roosevelt.
Over the Armory?
Yeah. And so all the Indian Hills kids were playing. I was not an Indian Hills kid. And they're going to pick teams. And so Mac gets picked first, of course. And then they're like picking through, and I'm not getting picked. And he's like lobbying for me. He's like, dude, he's good. I'm telling you.
What a good friend, man.
I'm telling you,
Holy
let's get him on the
smokes.
team.
Aaron McDonald. So like if you pick, Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
Like I've always pictured Aaron and his little brother Kevin, well, Aaron more so, but as like Tweeter.
Yeah.
As
Oh
Tweeter.
my.
Yeah.
Moonin'
100%. So now these like rich snobby kids, they didn't even play Pee Wee football. And so Max lobbied for me, and I didn't get picked. And so I was like, I'm going to tear everyone's head off in this game. Like, just go completely, like, insane, wild, and destroy everyone. And so I know what that feels like.
Right.
And then later on, transition, when I was in the military, I somehow found myself in a pretty solid unit that I had shouldn't have been there. These guys had all been through Special Forces qualification and selection, and were there, and I like got attached to the unit, not going through that to support them. And I was like, as a 23-year-old, and these guys were like war-torn 32-year-olds, like,
Oh my gosh,
like
yeah,
the complete
wow.
like John Waynes of the universe.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, I have no business being here whatsoever. But I proved to them that I was worthy enough, just through effort and through showing up and through working hard, that they gave me a shot. Mm-hmm. And it was the same thing with like that 4th grade example. It's like, just give me a shot. And it's the same with the gym. Like, everyone's welcome. We want you to be here. We're very welcoming. If you want to work hard, we've got a place for you. And like, that might be the only time in your day that day or that week that you'll hear good job.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Man.
You know what I mean? And so that's always stuck with me. That's always been very important. My first visit to a CrossFit gym was at Rogue Fitness before it was Rogue Fitness. And the owner, like, we all went and had beers Saturday afterwards, and they were super welcoming and inviting. And so that has always stuck with me, that like people, I know what it's like to be intimidated going into a group tribe dynamic setting. And like, I know what it's like for the top guy or whatever the social situation is to like, hey dude, come on in.
Yeah.
You're welcome here.
Yeah.
And that's very important to me and everyone at the gym, really.
Your story, I think, so what sticks out to me is you mentioned the word platform. So when you were on the bottom, or in times of your life when you felt like you were on the bottom, you found a way to get off of that platform. But then when you've been on top, you've also found a way to engage other people. So it's like at both ends of the spectrum, what you're saying is you've been able to leverage your platform no matter what to produce some kind of pretty freaking awesome good. So there's a lot of people out there that are struggling in the middle. Maybe they have the insecurity of, I'm on the platform and I can't like show weakness and, the good job or the humility to go help somebody or coach somebody. But then they also maybe are on the side of, I have a lot of anger, I have a lot of anxiety, I have a lot of frustration. What advice or what tips do you have for somebody that's, struggling with that internal emotion, but maybe not dealing with it in the best way? How do they move between those platforms?
Be first. So I've never met anyone who isn't dealing with something. Mm-hmm. Like, from the most gorgeous woman who you think she has everything together and she's just insecure to the core.
She has 3-year-old twins.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or like some dude, everyone is struggling with something, mm-hmm. and they're waiting for someone else to make the first move.
Yeah.
As simple as like
good.
a handshake, as like, but in order to do that, and it's difficult for me especially, it's like you have to disconnect from yourself and focus on the other person for just a second. And that has to, I don't know how you do that, and it just comes from experience, comes from dealing with people. We saw it when we went to film Shark Tank, and they put us in a hotel of all other people in that hotel were people going on the show.
Yeah.
And they're just like super nervous, and they're all focused on themselves, as you should be, because you're all internalizing your own stress. And what was I going to do? Not get a deal? Well, I didn't give a shit.
I mean, you did wear Ranger panties on national TV. I mean, that's pretty. If anybody needs to know anything about you, I'll wear Ranger panties on national TV.
But like, I was able to help that, talk to them,
Right.
let them know it was going to be okay. Like, some girl broke out in hives,
my gosh.
on her collarbone.
Yeah.
We gave her some Doc Spartan, and it helped it right before she.
You're that Doc Spartan.
Right before she went on. But the thing is, like, if you're in that situation, you're internalizing all that stress yourself, and you're thinking like, oh, everything's so bad, and I can't deal with it, and like that. But imagine in that moment if you come to me and you're like, here's a beer, dude. Like, I know you'll kick it. I know you'll kick ass tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, that makes a world of difference to somebody in the moment.
And what you're saying, I mean, so the question could be asked, what if you are struggling with any kind of negative emotion, stress, anxiety, depression, what if the answer to that can't be found focusing on yourself? So you think about that moment of, I'm going to walk into a big situation, I'm going to walk into something that causes me to be uncomfortable. Now I'm internalizing all of that negative emotion. Now I'm thinking about all my insecurities, all my shortcomings. And all it does is it just like magnifies what you're feeling inside, versus if I can get outside of this and understand that we're all in the same boat. And so I'm going to go first, and I'm going to encourage Joshua because obviously I can see he's struggling, or encourage Dale because I see he's nervous or whatever. Think about what that does to everybody in the group. And again, it goes back to that idea of the shared struggle. And I think it's why a CrossFit community is a little bit of a unique space for a lot of people, is because everybody understands the struggle they're going through, and everybody's struggling together. Nobody's looking sexy, right? When you go to like the Planet Fitnesses of the world, it's easy to rep out a couple bicep curls, get a little swole, and look good in front of the mirror for 5 minutes and selfie yourself. In the middle of a CrossFit workout, it's like you just want to breathe. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
I just want to take the next breath. That's all. That's mentally, that's all I'm consumed with. And then when you're done and you're looking around this room, and it's like, man, what if we could start forging more relationships where we know that going in? So I use my wife, for example. She was terrified of public speaking, struggled with anxiety so bad that her job, she was traveling all over the country at the time for her job. And the anxiety got to her so bad, she called me on the airplane, and we lived, it was in Columbus, and we lived about an hour north. She says, you're going to have to come get me. I go, what are you talking about? She goes, I'm on the plane. I can't make this flight. I'm like, but you're on the plane, right? Yes. Why can't you fly? I just can't. I have to get off the plane. I'm getting off the plane. I'm walking off the plane now. Come get me. Leave now. Come. And I'm like, she sounded like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Like an absolute crazy person. But all of this stuff internally had gotten to her. And the most incredible thing in our relationship was to watch her get outside of herself, because she realized that. And then now she's like an absolute monster in seeing that in other people, and being so willing to be generous and caring towards other people, and so sensitive to that it's almost like that's her defense to it. So is it gone forever, or does she ever feel little moments of that coming back? Yeah. But how does she defend it? She goes right after somebody else that she knows, or tries to identify that in somebody else and help them. I think that's what's so cool, is like your cure could be in your willingness to serve other people. And when I see what you do, I mean, you have no shortage of what you're doing for other people.
Well, I appreciate that, but it makes me feel really good. Like I get really awkward when people say that, because I at points I can be the biggest asshole in the world, and I take too much pride in that probably. But selfishly, it makes me feel really good to do that as well. So I don't want it to be portrayed that there's some holier than thou saint doing that. Like, I just know helping others, giving people a shot, and you get one or two, and that's it, man. Like, then we're on, because we've had to deal with that. Like, we get a lot of accolades for the work that we're doing with people in recovery, but you don't see the failures. Is you'll rightfully see successes, and that's what happens in a social media dominated world. But unfortunately we had to work with a guy. He relapsed on us twice, and we had to cut ties, and now he's in prison. He pawned my business partner's hedge clippers to fuel his drug habit, and so other things like that. So it's just like, you have to define, was it one shot? Is it two shots? Yeah. And then we're moving on from there, kind of deal. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
so with what you do with your gym, so you give people in recovery an opportunity to come to your gym and leverage it as an outlet to work through some of the negative emotions or some of the past or whatever that comes with that recovery, and try to identify healthier behaviors. One of the big challenges in that is, obviously there's a checkered past. There's a huge failure rate in that. So I don't know if I can ask two questions at the same time, but how do you make that decision of, this is a relationship that unfortunately it's just not the right time for me to keep investing in, or I need to keep investing in this person?
Good question. We started this path in 2018, and it truly came from being completely naive and ignorant to what somebody struggles with when they go through addiction. And one of the first guys that we had, he completed treatment, and I just thought, okay, well, you're
good.
You're good.
Yeah.
Go back to your life. And he was like, yeah, dude, I'm checking myself into a homeless shelter tomorrow because there's no transitional beds available, and I can't move back home, because if I do, I'll get hooked back on drugs.
Yeah.
So I had no idea even where the homeless shelter was in Portsmouth, but I really liked the guy. He was a hard worker, and I was like, dude, come to the gym tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll give you a broom and a mop and give you something to do during the day. And that's how it started. There was no I know what will work.
Right.
This is our 10-page implementation plan for solving this. It was just like, oh, damn, really? And then dude turned out great. Roughly same guy that went along with him at the same time. Actually, it was a year ago. They both came out to the Arnold with us and worked the booth. And a year now, one of them has 3 jobs, really, has his own car, has a girlfriend, and is trying to regain custody of his children, and the other one's in prison. And for the other guy that's in prison, completely violated our trust, essentially stole money from us, and we then sprung a trap on him and confronted him, which honestly, selfishly, was really exciting.
Well, that's the thought.
I saw you smirk.
That's the thought.
I want to know the story.
I mean, if you ever have an excuse to have a little bit of a flashback, it just works. It's like, dude, think. But okay, but again, think about. This is the challenge for me. I grew up in a very positive environment. a lot of family around, no significant issues to talk about. If Lifetime came to me tomorrow, I'd be like, this is going to be the worst Lifetime movie ever. There's nothing to cry about really in this story. But you think about, it's the weirdest way I've ever seen anybody scratch themselves ever. I don't know what that
I didn't want to make a
was.
sound, and then I
I thought
did.
you were trying to give me a hand sign. Like, am I saying something wrong? What am I doing? Like, you don't know, Dale. Don't ask that question. That's our sign. But for me, one of the big things I've had to learn in terms of, the addiction world is how unique that is. And if you're not from it, don't ever, ever, ever try to pretend that you understand it or you know it. Because here's a perfect situation where a person falling back into their drug addiction is willing to steal from you, which obviously this is my first time meeting you, but I'm not going to test you. Like, I at least have the wherewithal. But that's the depth in which that addiction just takes hold, and it just removes any amount of reason from that person. Mm-hmm. So in what you're doing and kind of seeing some of the successes that feel great and some of the failures that just feel awful, what keeps you motivated to keep serving that population?
Seeing the change, like watching, like, I don't know, let's just, even if it's 50-50, like, I'll take 5 out of 10. Mm. You know what I mean? It's worth the complete devastation and heartache and heartbreak to invest time and opportunity and love into somebody and watch it all burn up and, for nothing. Mm. But then watch somebody succeed from it.
Yeah.
It is like, that's why you do it.
Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance to this question, because obviously you guys are far more versed, you have more experience in this than I am. Would it be safe to assume that everyone is addicted or can be addicted to something, and it's just how that's channeled? Or no? Or is that pretty dumb of me to say?
No, that's not dumb at all.
It depends on which theory and belief you want to run with and which form of research you want to go with. So we're the Arnold. Should be, maybe, will be, we don't know, taking place. But the vast majority of people that are competing at this level, look at like a Matt Frazier for CrossFit. He has an addiction.
Oh my gosh. He's
no doubt.
Crazy.
No doubt he has an addiction. You look at the vast majority of the competing athletes, they have an addiction. Their life is consumed by one thing and one thing alone. So you have a social standard of addictions that are acceptable. Caffeine being one of them. Caffeine addiction is completely acceptable. It's a drug. Can be a drug addict, but thank God it's caffeine and not heroin or something like that. You also have a lot of studies. So one kind of conference training I went to was done by Ohio State. And they basically said, they broke it down to a genetic level, and they said 10% of the population is genetically dispositioned to be addicted to something. It's just a matter of what they will be addicted to. You also have the other side of it that people attribute just the power of the drug. So if you get on the wrong drugs at the wrong time, mm-hmm. you're toast, and there's really not much anybody can do for you. So at least from my experience, what I've tried to learn, because again, I have no personal experience with it, so I'm not going to say that I know, but from what I've heard and what's been shared with me, there's a couple different schools of thought, and that's what's changed the term from drug addict to like it being determined like a disease, right? So I can't control the fact that I got a disease. So that's also what it's trying to depower maybe the willpower of that person. So like, oh, you're the problem because you're a drug addict. Well, it's like, I can't help that. It's like if I was born like some of the simply required athletes, if I'm born without a leg, you can't tell me like, oh, well,
walk it off.
Yeah, walk it off. It's like I was born without a leg. Like I was born with this. So that's at least what I've heard. I don't know what you've heard in some of the stuff.
No, it's not everyone is born with the genetic predisposition to be an addict. It's just a matter if that light switch gets turned on.
Gotcha.
And what turned it on is the best kind of way to look at it. And I used to be completely like, I'm like, dude, that disease stuff doesn't fly with me.
Yeah.
You do it or you don't. You quit it or you don't. Like that's all I want to hear. And it's not that way at all. They made a bad choice. And like, you can go into the whole conspiracy theory with pain pills and opioids and the whole deal, but like they got addicted, and like no one grows up and wants to be a social heroin user.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't happen that way, or meth or whatever. They made bad choices that took them down there, but once they're in, you're in. You ain't getting out, and there's very few people who can just like,
Cold turkey.
I'm done.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
But it is like a workaholic.
Yeah.
2 glasses of wine a night. What's playing semantics to a degree, but I would just say like there is genetic predisposition to be addicted for sure.
So, and I know we're kind of running out of time, but I do want to ask you now. For everybody listening, should definitely check this out. It's the Team Some Assembly Required.
Mm-hmm.
Which, how long has that been a part of the Arnold?
6 years.
6 years. Okay. So, real quick, brief description of Team Some Assembly Required, and then what caused you and your other co-founder to really push this thing as being part of the Arnold.
So super long story short, my buddy that I went to Capitol with lost his leg in Afghanistan in 2010. I saw him coming off the battlefield in Walter Reed. It's like one of the most harrowing emotional experiences in my life. And then over the course of 2 to 3 years later, multiple surgeries, and he was finally medically retired. All he ever wanted to do was be in the Army. So it's like, all right, kid, thanks for your service. Go figure it out. Mm-hmm. And he was like, dude, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm like, well, if my dumb ass can open up a gym, you're dumber than I am, so I'll help you. So he opened up a gym, and then like the marketing genius that I am was like, come to the Arnold and compete in the CrossFit. I've never seen anybody without a leg do this, and like it'll be a lot of publicity for your gym. And to know Derek, who's like, oh yeah, I can do it, yeah, 100%.
That's awesome.
And so he shows up and he's wearing pants, and I'm like, dude, you got to take your pants off. Like, this is kind of the whole reason we're here. And he's very insecure. This is very fresh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm like, bro, just trust me. Take your leg off. It'll work. I'm doing it. Drops trowel in front of like 20,000 people. He's wearing like Ranger panties. And to watch him walk, you just think he has a limp. And then literally the entire crowd stared at him and shut up and was like, what is this? Never seen anything like this. And then he went out, came out flying out of the gate and just like was crushing people for 46 seconds. And then just
and the adrenaline
puked.
left. Yeah.
Like,
the adrenaline.
And then the adrenaline left and got dominated, but for 46 seconds, he was in the lead.
Yeah.
And like puked in a chalk bucket. It was.
I can't wait for the person that didn't see that and they reach out in the chalk bucket.
And the next year, turns out who would actually take over the event for CrossFit was like, dude, can you come back? And we're doing a team competition next year. Can you find 6 people, 3 guys and 3 girls, to come out here and compete? And we're like, absolutely we can. And we're like, how do we find 3 guys and 3 girls? We have no idea how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And then like, we found them and they're all over the country. And then like, how do we pay for them to get here? Just figured that out. And then we needed to find a team name for the competition. And Derek was like, Team Some Assembly Required.
So great. That's great.
And then we got asked to come back again. And then we kept getting asked to come here and come there and share stories. And then it was just like, we should probably be a nonprofit because we're just getting exhausted trying to find sponsorships for this all the time. And so like we became a 501c3 nonprofit. And that was 2013.
Wow.
So,
and now how many total athletes?
we've got around 20 to 25 span all disciplines. So from like endurance athletes, this is going to sound completely egotistical, but 2 Sundays ago, the Shark Tank rerun happened Sunday afternoon. And then on ESPN2, there was Team SAR doing a Spartan race.
That's awesome.
And I was like,
Wow.
that's fucking
From
cool.
Portsmouth.
Yeah.
All based in Portsmouth, Ohio.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool.
That's sweet.
That's amazing.
So yeah, they do Spartan races, they do powerlifting, Olympic lifting, strongman, CrossFit, Paralympics, the whole deal.
And I do have to share this. I know we talked about it a little bit, but if anybody hasn't seen the video, you have to go find it online. And I don't know if you know the name or not, but it's the video of the team some assembly required event. I think there's somebody deadlifting, and they have a prosthetic leg, and Arnold comes through the crowd and gets in that dude's face. And you can tell, like, when the guy's lifting, like, he kind of maybe has it, maybe doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's like it's literally like it was directed out of a movie. Arnold comes pushing through the crowd, gets in this guy's face, and he's like right here, and you almost see the guy like kind of like what the heck's going on, like, and then he realizes it's Arnold, and then it's yank, like straight up. And I'm not joking, dude. As soon as I saw that, I was like, pause, walk away,
Yeah.
don't look at me. I'm freaking crying. I'm ugly. Like, oh my gosh, one of those incredible moments. Are there any moments like that you've had that have reassured you? You know what? I'm at least doing something positive.
It's smaller moments. So it's like I'll just sit back, and we've got a girl, Nicole, and we've got a guy named Ricky who were once clients, and they work for Doc Spartan. And then like Ricky's showing me like he found protein on sale somewhere, and he's all hyped up about getting protein, and then watch Nicole come in a car, and like now she's worried about competing in her first CrossFit competition as she's like packaging orders up. Mm-hmm. Like that's the shit I get to do and see every day. That's not going to be on an Instagram clip or YouTube. And it's just like, that's a pretty awesome place to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what really like fires me up and like keeps me driving, and like I want to be rich. Trust me, I'm not.
Yeah,
I
let's
want
do
to
that.
be
Yeah,
as
I
rich
want
as
to.
I
Yeah, me too.
can. And but now I've got way more gas in the tank to go produce stable, well-paying jobs, to go after big retail contracts and this and that and the other. Because it's not about how much money goes in my account. It's like these guys deserve a chance, and like I really feel God's put us here to provide that and do that with their help. So
Yeah. Awesome.
I didn't want to really talk much about Shark Tank, but I do have one question
sure.
about Shark Tank. When they, so like, I don't even know, like, how much did they invest?
On the show, we asked for
15%,
$75K for 25%.
Okay.
I think is what it was. It's I can't remember that.
So how much further ahead did that put you? So like, if without that experience, where do you think you would be as opposed to where you are?
Without the Shark Tank experience,
Without the Shark Tank money,
oh well.
or maybe that's a different conversation.
There's what happens on TV, and then there's what is actually signed for on paper.
Gotcha. Okay, so the experience in general.
The experience in general was awesome. I will say this.
I can move on to my next
No.
question.
I'm trying. Robert is an active investor in the company, and his advice and mentorship is way more valuable than any amount of money he could have invested on the show.
That's cool.
And we proved pretty quickly that by the success of the show that he got all of his money back.
Good.
So, and then therefore, like, we're not in this relationship. He doesn't want it, because once somebody has financial control over you, they can steer your boat.
Yeah.
So within 4 days, he had all his money back.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy.
So,
That's awesome.
which is awesome because then it's like, thanks, bro. Thanks for believing in us. And like, I hate owing anyone anything.
Yeah. Right. That's incredible.
So it was, but now it's like cool because it's like, guys, do your thing. Like, I'm here to help and blah, blah, blah.
That's cool. One of the cool things that that I really wanted to talk about was Jeremy, I, and Zach. We all live in a little community, and since I've moved there, I've always compared it to Portsmouth.
Yeah.
It is essentially Portsmouth without the hills.
Yeah.
And the demographics, the people, the size, it's all roughly the same. You talked about the downtown, like all that stuff. And so, Marion, there's a lot of, so now there's a big push for the revitalization of downtown. There's a lot of really good people doing a lot of really good things. And one of the things that I see, at least on social media, because I follow you, but and if you don't, you should follow Dale King and
For sure.
Doc Spartan and PK or PSKC CrossFit Gym.
Not Plymouth.
Not Plymouth, Portsmouth for sure.
Not Plymouth. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. But the idea of the comeback city, and So where was the genesis of that? Was that you? A group of people. Where did that come from?
It came from a meeting for Third and Court. It was like, what is the galvanizing thing that we can throw behind? Like, what is a slogan that it can be encapsulating for what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
And it's like comeback city. Like, everyone loves a comeback story. Like, Rocky is one of the greatest series of movies ever made. Like, everyone loves when the underdog can win at the end of it. And it was a way to brand a movement, essentially. And then once you do that, it's like everyone can get behind it regardless. Like, they don't have to go to the gym. Yeah. They don't have to buy Doc Spartan. They have to, like, go pick up trash. Yeah. They have to, like, want to make their place better. They want to be a part of something, be a part of the underdog. Yeah.
It's super cool because, in Marion, we have a similar-ish movement called Marion Made. But one of the cool things, about the comeback city and about everything that you guys are trying to accomplish is, majority of my family's back home or is in Portsmouth. Yeah. So, when I go back home, I still call home. When I go back home, 3-4 times a year, it's just like, I want to know what's kind of going on now, and I want to be a part of it. Yeah. And, even though I don't live there, I still consider it home, and, I still want to be a part of it. And, that's really encouraging from, 140 miles away that I live. But it's super cool to see kind of the traction of what's going on, especially down on 2nd Street. Mm-hmm. When I was down there in the summer, we went down, there's a restaurant on the corner,
Patties and Pints.
It's just a super cool place. Yeah. And it's just like that area is like, I love seeing the growth because I get, I'm not there all the time and I don't really get to see the progression, day in and day out, which I'm sure is really slow and mundane. But, when I go back and I go downtown, maybe every other time I'm there, I get to see the growth. It's super cool. It's super cool, especially when you meet up with friends and they're like, "Oh, we'll go down to 2nd Street." And it's like, what? Yeah. So like, are we going fishing? The levee? Are we looking at the murals? Yeah. I don't know. But that's super encouraging for me, especially from afar, having, a little bit of insight of the community. I'm really thankful that you're there kind of fighting that fight and you have a good team around you that has bought into that as well and wants to see that difference and wants to make that impact. So that's integral to everything that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. And it just goes back to being first. Yeah. And then like people are waiting for something. They're either waiting for something to happen or they're waiting for someone to help them. And we all have the ability to do that for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. Like a lot of people helped me, especially with what's going down in Portsmouth throughout my life. And it's just like, I know what that felt like to me. And it's just something that we all have the ability to do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you got anything else?
I
mean, a ton of stuff.
No, we got to do this again because I want to get down to Portsmouth and I want to go check out the gym.
Yeah, you should.
Poor Josh and Zach. We were, as we're trying to coordinate this, and obviously you had a lot going on with the.
Yeah, I felt so
this.
bad. I was like, dude, I don't know. Like,
I felt terrible.
I just kept looking at him, and I'm like, you guys tell me. Like, I'll roll at 2 a.m. I'll roll. I want to be down. I'll go down there. I
kept
got to
telling
eat
him,
the wibba.
The river.
I got to eat there. I got to work out at your shop. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm Gucci. Let's go. Don't worry about me.
We'll show you the old paintball battle.
Let me wear a mask.
But yeah, so it was an absolute pleasure, Dale. I love having you on. I love.
No, I'm glad, dude. Thank you. Like you, this is the highlight of the day so far. For sure.
You know how ridiculously absent-minded I am?
I know.
I didn't even think to wear my Doc Spartan Apollo Creed Ranger pants here,
Thank you.
which his wife absolutely loves.
No, stop.
She loves them.
She makes fun of you all the time.
She hates them. They gross her out. But also, my favorite T-shirt of all time, and I don't wear it enough because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it, is my Team Some Assembly required the light blue collab with Rogue American from I think 2018 maybe.
Yeah, 2-3 years ago.
I like the Sex Panther T-shirt.
Yeah,
I wear that.
Yeah, that was one of
once a week.
at least.
Oh, God love her. It's amazing she puts up.
Brittany doesn't get picked on enough. You got to step up your.
That's because she's
pick
never
on the spouse
around.
game.
She didn't come to the gym. Listen, so my wife will come to the gym with me at 6 a.m. every morning, and his wife just doesn't come. So it's.
Are you a 6 a.m. too?
I'm a 6 a.m.er. Yeah, she's more of a volleyball, like do an activity type person.
Gotcha.
She's not an intense like workout person. And if you know Amanda has the mentality, like Amanda's pretty.
I'm gonna choke
aggressive.
you out. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like aggressive. She's like, I'll fight somebody right now. Brittany's much more like, hey, everybody, let's have a good time. So people start grunting and yelling, and that's not her vibe. She's way more chill. So. Yeah.
Your wife, she's got tattooed like the
Yes.
band. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, she's definitely my better half. She keeps me in line. So, but I guess that's all we have for now. But
Part two
coming up.
Portsmouth.
Okay, there it is.
Done.
There's the invite. We got him.
Done. We can use your conference room.
Hey, you probably shouldn't.
100%.
Sorry,
slam
Zach.
the
Forgive me,
table.
Zach.
My acoustics in the conference room.
Perfect.
We don't have to worry about this behind us.
That picture.
We're good.
That
it's
beautiful
gold.
painting on the wall.
Yeah, I did it myself this morning. But this is How Stupid People Succeed. I'm Josh. This is Jeremy, and this is Mr. Dale King.
Mr. Dale King.
I bit my lip.
Hey, you
Doc Spartan himself.
You got any Doc Spartan chapstick?
I do.
Hey, listen.
I do it.
Support this man. Go to Doc Spartan. Best deodorant you'll ever use. All natural deodorant. You don't smell bad. You don't sweat. It's amazing. You won't get cancer later in life.
And when you rip your hands,
If you rip your
have
hands
open
doing
wounds.
CrossFit, if you do tattoos, this guy is the guy.
Anything
you go
for
to
your,
stuff.
from armpits to your nutsack to skin.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
We've got you.
got you covered. And women. Don't forget the women. Got the lady scrub and stuff.
I guess so. Well, make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on all your podcast listening devices, and YouTube as well. Thanks, guys.
Listening devices. Sony Walkmans.